from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on Ag Day, Secret No More. We reveal this year's Ohio State butter sculpture.
They say there's 50,000.
Hemp has many uses, but how soon before products made with it become part of our daily lives? And new signs of hope in trade talks with China.
And I think we will see the ag purchases coming on soon.
Ag Day, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon in for Clinton Griffiths. White House officials sounding a bit more optimistic about the ongoing trade talks with China. The South China Morning Post reporting U.S. trade negotiators will likely visit China next week for the first face-to-face talk since the G20 meeting in Japan late last month. White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow saying Chinese companies are looking to purchase American agriculture, and that's very important to the U.S. trade team.
It looks like there will be a trip to China, point number one. And point number two, we hope strongly that China will very soon start buying agriculture products. Number one is part of an overall deal. Number two is a goodwill gesture. So I'm going to play that on the optimistic side. And I think going over there is a very good sign.
The president tweeting about America's farmers again on Tuesday, saying, quote, "Farmers are starting to do great again after 15 years of a downward spiral. The $16 billion China replacement money didn't exactly hurt," end quote. The president referencing the second round of tariff aid. We expect to learn more about how that $16 billion will be broken down later this week. Hemp growers and startup companies are having a hard time launching the hemp business, and it's all due to money. That's according to the Houston Chronicle. Hemp businesses are starting up by self-funding since the industry is resurfacing after years of not being able to grow the crop. Bankers attending our Farm Journal Hemp College this year saying their clients have an increased interest in loans for hemp production.
Really just trying to get our arms around the market risks and the opportunities and learning more about this industry.
Now cannabis is front and center stage on Capitol Hill this week. The Senate Banking Committee listening to banking possibilities for cannabis and how receptive Congress may be to enable financial services for companies.
Without access to the banking system, legal cannabis businesses are forced to operate in the shadows, dealing in large amounts of cash. It puts a robbery target on the backs of workers. It creates a safety hazard for communities. It can make it harder to monitor transactions and combat money laundering. Getting paid in cash means it's difficult to get a credit card, prove your income, to get a loan, or even keep your personal bank account.
USDA, FDA, and EPA officials are also set to testify about hemp to the Senate Ag Committee later this week. Production is legal in nearly every state. We look at one of the uses that just may end up in your car.
The material starts getting blended together here.
Step into the warehouse of FlexForm Technologies in Elkhart, Indiana. CEO Greg Balmba will show you fiber shipped from all over the world.
Whether it's this package tray, this door panel, this is an oil pan liner, then you can see some parts here. This is a seat back.
The company manufactures materials which primarily go into automotive interiors, combining natural fiber with synthetic fiber.
This goes in Ford Escape. It's called a door bolster.
Items which need big shipments, not always available in the United States.
We bring in 2 containers which hold roughly 42,000 pounds, and that's about how much we use a week.
However, hemp grown for fiber here domestically could help and limit imports for companies like his.
We use very little hemp right now because, number one, it's difficult to get and it's expensive. And what we do get, we primarily get out of Europe right now.
More of that fiber could potentially come from hemp fiber grown here in the U.S., something that was not possible years ago, now is legal in almost every state. And there are changes in the new Farm Bill, a push for hemp production by lawmakers.
I think everybody's now figured it out. This is not the other plant. I know there are farming communities all over the country who are interested in this.
Industry leaders say hemp has multiple uses.
They say there's 50,000. I've not counted them. I can count to about 60. But there's certainly this plant can do a lot of things and do a lot of things well.
And Kentucky is on the forefront of production.
We started with 33 acres in 2014, and now this year farmers applied to grow over 57,000 acres here in Kentucky.
The problem right now was processing availability to make the fiber usable.
We are missing a large component of that here within our own state in a decortication facility. But at this point, the fiber can be decorticated and processed in Kentucky, and then eventually will make its way back into Indiana for manufacturing.
And this is what the hemp would primarily look like that would be processed here in the U.S. And
the hemp would look like that?
Yes. And then this is the synthetic fibers that we mix it with.
It's a look towards the future to see if hemp fiber takes off.
Pick up and move the chairs easily.
We're about to take a trip back in time in today's crop comments. Here's meteorologist Cindy Clausen.
Well, Betsy, check out this old piece of equipment in use. Brian Larson's sharing this with us. He's a fourth-generation family farmer in northwestern North Dakota. Now, just watch this old threshing machine in action. A lot of moving parts to that thing, but it still puts out some great grain. Amazing to see that one in action. Well, let's take a look at our wind speed forecast for the day, and you can see kind of quiet out there this morning. Winds pick up a little bit in the plains and over towards especially Montana with a low pressure system up in that neck of the woods and into southwestern Canada. That's this afternoon. Heading into the overnight hours tonight, things really quiet down quite a bit once again. And then as we head through Thursday, you see things picking up again, more so in the upper Midwest and then right along the U.S.-Canada border. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll take a look at that national forecast.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
We're continuing to follow the impact of Hurricane Barry. The storm moved ashore in the center of Louisiana's sugarcane belt. Louisiana State University's Craig Gautreaux was getting a closer look at the damage.
Hurricane Barry has come and gone, but it left a path of flooded fields in its wake. The storm moved ashore in the center of Louisiana's sugarcane belt, and many farmers were anxious based on some early projections. But after it was all said and done, damage to the cane was not extensive.
I think we dodged a bullet. The crop was short, so the lodging wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been, say, if this storm passed 1 month from now.
Rain and tidal surge left some fields flooded. Areas received anywhere from 3 to 14 inches of rain, and farmers were scrambling to pump off water that was slow to drain to protect their crop.
The longer that cane has got its feet wet and underwater can cause more damage.
Farmers near the coast are concerned with tidal surges bringing in large amounts of salt water. This year, the high outflows of the Mississippi and Atchafalaya rivers may have been a blessing.
Preliminary water testing has indicated that's not salt water, that's all fresh water. The outflow from the Atchafalaya has things pretty fresh on the coast. A lot of that water moves west.
And if the weather remains favorable, the crop should not suffer any lasting effects.
If we receive some good sunny days between now and August 1st when we start to plant, we think this cane has an excellent chance to rebound and recover.
Most of the damage from Barry is located in central Louisiana, where some corn, rice, and soybean fields were flooded by narrow rain bands that were part of the storm. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
Still ahead on Ag Day, planning ahead while keeping an eye on market volatility. And thousands of pounds of butter sculptured into an utterly amazing display. We reveal this year's butter display at the Ohio State Fair coming up.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Trying to make marketing decisions going into the fall, maybe into next year. Clinton Griffiths gets some insights in today's analysis.
Dan Huber with the Huber Report joining us here at the Agribusiness Desk today. And Dan, I'd like to walk through some of the strategies and scenarios to be thinking about as we get not just through July, but we get into August, September, and we start focusing on what the future looks like for this market, because we know it won't be around forever.
Sure. Oh, sure. Yeah. You know, when it comes to the 1920 crop, I think the question mark in most everyone's mind is what kind of bushels will I have to sell? Sure. If I've been forward contracted already, am I at a higher percentage than I was initially? You know, I'm going to probably tend to say it's a little bit late to step in and use options to try to kind of cover yourself on that, just because volatility is you're buying what theoretically would be a peak in the volatility. It's going to be tough to make those work without maybe moving into a little more elaborate hedges or strategies. You know, that said, I think once you can feel comfortable with what you're going to produce, it still comes back to the point of, if these are the bushels I'm producing, this is the kind of return I would like to generate from my farm. When you see prices meet those targets, go ahead and move with them. I mean, it's being greedy, and granted, I realize there's a lot of emotionalism that's involved in it when you don't really know what's out in your fields at this point. But I mean, here again, stick with the business strategy. Try to take the emotionalism out of it, and market the crop when you think it's going to return the kind of numbers that you want to see back into your operations.
Yeah.
Bigger challenge might be, what do we do for 2020?
Yeah, that's a great question, because yes, we kind of know what the challenges are of 19. 2020 is an unknown, but the prices out in 2020 aren't too bad, at least on the board.
I mean, certainly not bad. I mean, big discount to current prices, your December spread. And here again, I think you have to come back and looking at the other elements like the dollar. We haven't seen the dollar break yet. Are we going to see a lot more acreage of corn next year? And of course, you would think the market will try to encourage that. That said, between 430 and 450 corn over the last 3 to 4 years, once we've been there, that has brought plenty of acres back into the corn market. So I guess I would still tend to say that looking out into 2020, if you can start marketing corn in that 420 to 450 range, you need to start locking in a percent of your production, and at least knowing that that does lock in a nice return on investment, regardless of what happens on everything else.
Appreciate the insight. Thank
Certainly,
you so much,
my pleasure.
Dan. We'll be back with more AgDay coming up in just a minute.
For a free trial of Dan's newsletter, visit thehuberreport.com or call toll-free at 888-926-0985. The IBM Watson Decision Platform for Agriculture, helping to feed a hungry world with the power of AI.
Welcome back to AgDay with meteorologist Cindy Clausen. Cindy, when you look at the root zone moisture map, things are looking a little dry.
Yeah, they definitely are getting dry. Definitely. We talked about this last week too. We've had so much moisture in the spring, but we're kind of seeing the rains shut off in some areas, and we're really starting to notice that on the map. Let's take a look. And a couple places we really see that dryness showing up is in the southeast, especially along the North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia coast, even into Florida. We're seeing that dryness really expand. And again, this is in the top layers of the soil here, but you can see Texas getting drier, the western parts of the plains into much of the Intermountain West and into the Northwest. All these areas are continuing to get drier, and we're seeing some more pockets of dryness in that, again, the top parts of the soil, even into parts of the Corn Belt. So something that we're going to be watching as we've had kind of this high pressure over the area, and we're not expecting a ton of rain there in some of those areas this week. Let's look at our map, though. We could be seeing some of the relief from those the dry conditions, especially down in Florida, as we have a front not making a whole lot of movement. So we'll look for a little bit of rain right along the southeastern coast and into Florida as we get into the next 12 hours or so. High pressure controlling the middle part of the country, and we do have a weak front that's moving through parts of the Northwest. So we'll see some scattered showers there as we head through the day today. Heading into the overnight hours, that high pressure moves into more so the getting into the central Great Lakes. We still have that front draped across Florida, so we'll see some scattered showers and thunderstorms there. This front starts moving into the northern plains and into the upper Midwest as we get into Thursday, picking up a little bit more moisture as it goes. High starts to move to the east. There are some hints, a lot of models starting to hint at maybe a little bit of a lake breeze here and there, sparking off some showers in parts of the Great Lakes, but we do expect to see some more moisture in the Four Corners region as well. Over the past 24 hours, most of that moisture has been in the southeast along that front, and that's good news if you think about how we were just showing you that root zone moisture map. And so these were some of the drier areas in the country. We're going to add a little bit more to that, especially in Florida, and then you can kind of see where that front is starting to take aim into the northern parts of the country. Very warm. We have a ridge there, 96 in Billings today, 102 in Phoenix. The cooler temperatures remain in the eastern part of the country. Overnight, we see those temperatures, again, very comfortable where it was really humid last week, 60s and 50s in parts of the northeast. Not bad there. Quick check of the jet stream shows that trough that's brought that relief from the extreme heat, but we do have some really warm temperatures in the west and in the plains. Everything kind of evens out as we head into the weekend and into the early part of next week. We see a little bit more zonal flow, but a lot of folks are going to start to warm up again as we get into the weekend and into the early part of next week. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Oak Ridge, Oregon, sunny and warmer today with a high of 83 degrees. Wayne City, Illinois, abundant sunshine with a high of 82. And Archer, Florida, showers and thunderstorms with a high of 82 degrees.
The battle over papayas takes a new turn. And still ahead, it's the best kept secret this time of the year. But this morning, we are revealing this year's butter sculpture at the Ohio State Fair.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
The debate over imported Mexican papayas continues. The FDA saying it's taking action after a distributor refused to do a recall. The FDA releasing an update on the salmonella outbreak. It has linked to Cavi brand whole papayas. The papayas are distributed by AgriSons. The FDA saying it contacted wholesale customers of AgriSons to ensure the fruit was no longer available for sale. It says it was doing this to protect people as it pursues additional protective and regulatory actions. No Cavi brand papayas have tested positive for salmonella. A spokesperson for a law group that has AgriSons as a client says the FDA has not identified any health threat in Cavi brand papayas, and the company sees no valid reason for issuing a voluntary recall. Consumers have been misled. That's the claim of two consumer advocacy groups that are suing Tyson Foods. Food and Water Watch and the Organic Consumers Association accused Tyson of false advertising, saying the company uses its website and social media accounts to portray its employees as, quote, stewards of the animals who are dedicated to environmental leadership and protecting the planet. The two nonprofits are not seeking money, but they say only to end what they see as deceptive marketing and advertising. The two groups filed a similar suit against Pilgrim's Pride in February. The secrets revealed. We get a look at this year's butter sculpture at the Ohio State Fair. And a hint, it's out of this world. You'll see it next.
Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
If you witnessed the Apollo 11 moon landing, you probably remember exactly where you were and how you felt about that iconic moment in history. Now, 50 years later, the first moon landing is being commemorated with the ultimate honor, recreating its most memorable moments and thousands of pounds of butter. Barb Consiglio from the American Dairy Association Mideast has the details on one of the Ohio State Fair's most beloved traditions.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
The annual butter display is blasting off at the Ohio State Fair, and this year's sculptures are truly out of this world.
This year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 mission to the moon and the Ohio connection, which is Neil Armstrong.
Some of the most iconic moments from that legendary day are sculpted in butter, including Neil Armstrong standing next to the lunar module Eagle.
The Eagle has landed.
And saluting the American flag after planting it on the surface of the moon.
They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes.
There's also a butter sculpture of the entire lunar landing crew, including Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. And of course, the traditional butter cow and calf.
The butter display is made from more than 2,200 pounds of butter and was completed in 500 hours which about 400 of those hours were spent inside the cooler sculpting.
Sculptors begin with steel frames and layer on butter from 55-pound blocks, spending hours chiseling and smoothing every detail inside a 46-degree cooler. The display is presented by the American Dairy Association Mid-East and is expected to attract more than 500,000 fairgoers.
It will bring back memories of where they were 50 years ago when the moon landing took place.
While some visitors reminisce, the sculptures also inspire the awe of that iconic moment in history in a new generation. In Columbus, this is Barb Consiglio reporting.
Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.